What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NFL Thursday Night Football preview video. This is week 10 of the NFL season. It is flying by. We've got 7 more weeks, but this is the very first game, a pretty solid total very first game of the week for week 10. I'm here with Adi Narang at Really Adi on Twitter. What's going on, Adi?
What's going on, man? How's everything?
You know how it is, Adi. You know what's going on. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna curse at the beginning of the video. I don't know how the YouTube algorithms work, but it can be good. You know?
I mean, yeah, man. Trey Young has me in a pretty pissed off mood too. But hey, here we are.
I mean, if he could have just shot it and then it went in, that would have been good, right?
It was just awful, man. They doubled him they just doubled him like the entire game. I mean, you know, it was just.
Yeah, how do you play Trey Young in cash?
I mean,
didn't work out.
Hey, man, I'm still about to make it into cash with this Montrez game that's happening as we speak. I'm serious. You got a putback? Like, I'm serious.
Hey, man, when Montrez starts, you play him, you know? Yeah,
pretty much.
All right, so we're going to be breaking down this 49 total. I believe Oakland is favored by 1, 25-24 on the spread. It could be the other way around. I'm pretty sure it's Oakland by 1. And we are going to be looking at the DraftKings slate. We're going to be trying to go through it relatively quickly because me and Adi are trying to hit the bed. So, all right, let's go ahead.
The Chargers are favored by 1. It opened Oakland -1.5, and it's moved to Chargers -1.
Okay. Oh, yeah. We got to give away the pass. We're giving it this week oh, my gosh, I got to go check. Justin Brady. Shout out Justin Brady. He made the Cody Zeller joke. I don't know if you're watching this, Justin. Hopefully you are. You win the free pass. DMS at locksdfs.com. If you guys don't know about our weekly giveaway, if you're watching the showdown video for the first time, sorry for all the chit chat at the beginning. But we do a weekly giveaway on these Thursday night videos. We'll change it up when the NFL season is over. But for now, we give a free pass to someone who commented on any of our videos throughout the week. The more you comment, the more chances you have to win. So, subscribe, comment. You have a chance to win that free season pass. So, Justin Brady, DMS will set you up. And and on this slate, if you comment with your favorite – honestly, on this slate, thinking about this slate, who is your favorite pass catcher on the slate? Comment with your favorite pass catcher on the slate because any of them could end up being the best one. Mm-hmm. Except for maybe Tyrell Williams, but I mean
favorite point per dollar pass catcher.
Nope, best.
Dude, that puts Zay Jones in play.
What if nope? Zay Jones got to score the most points.
All right,
just flat out.
Zay Jones
got to do his thing. Zay Jones, that's why we're captaining Zay Jones. You know.
I mean, dude, I'm excited to talk about Zay Jones. So let's get to
it. All right, yeah, let's get into it. We usually talk about do we want to just talk about our favorite captains off the top? Or, I mean, the thing about this slate is that this is the most interesting price slate in a long time on Showdown because there's no one the highest priced player on without captaining is $10K, Phillip Rivers. And besides that, we know if you listen to this podcast, unless they're running quarterbacks, it's pretty unlikely that we're going to captain a quarterback in a lot of our builds. I'm not saying they're bad plays and not saying they can't get you there, but most times you're limiting your upside to some extent unless you have some rushing upside. So most times, and you also often get a price discount, especially on this slate with guys like Keenan Allen who have volume, Josh Jacobs. Obviously, we saw Melvin Gordon get a ton of carries last week, played a season high in snaps last week. Ekeler got 16 touches last week, and those two guys are both in the 7K range. So off that, captain options for you this week that you are considering off the top. I mean, like I said, I know it's tight, and I know that I think that both of us are going to be considering lots of captains up to lock because it's going to be thin margins, and it's like, do I need 200 here, 300, 400, 500 type thing?
Yeah, yep. I think it essentially is just going to come down to how it correlates with your team. You know, I think a guy like Josh Jacobs makes a lot of sense in the captain spot if you think the Raiders control the game on the ground, which I don't think people are going to be going that route just because of the line movement that we're getting and 2.5 points in the Chargers' favor. They are getting 67% of the bets, but a 2.5 point swing means there's definitely some sharp money in there. But I think it's pretty easy to see this game going, getting controlled by the Raiders. They have a dominant offensive line, and the The Chargers defensive line is banged up. We're still waiting on a couple guys like Brandon Mebane. He's questionable. Denzel Perriman's questionable. But we know Justin Jones is out. He's one of their best defensive tackles versus the run. So a guy like Josh Jacobs and this offensive line could have a field day, which I like a lot. So that makes sense if you think Keenan Allen has like a spike week that we've sort of been waiting on. And, I mean, his air yards – I mean, this guy's 5th in air yards the last month.
Yeah.
If you think he has a spike week, then he makes a lot of sense in the captain
Raiders
spot.
bad versus the slot.
Yeah.
Raiders
exactly.
bad versus most receivers in general.
Yeah, they are a pass funnel. So it's just sort of how you see your correlation coming. I don't – we'll get into these plays specifically.
I think that we should just go ahead and
let's do it.
But yeah, like I said, I think that's a good point though, correlating for sure. Like, I would say, if you're correlating like with Jacobs, you're going to just probably end up getting more Chargers pass catchers, hoping that Raiders control, Chargers try to catch up. Or I mean, there's a lot you can do with like a Jacobs captain, but I don't know. I've been low on Jacobs all year, and it's like bad. It's like hasn't worked out for me at all. So
dude, Josh Jacobs
he's legit. I know he's legit now. Oh, trust me. I mean,
he's Pro Football Focus's #1 running back in elusive rating, like #1. And like it if you watch that Lions game, like he was just ripping off. It's the Lions run defense obviously isn't fantastic, but it was chunk gain after chunk gain. There was plays that he should have been wrapped up in the backfield that he turned into 3- and 4-yard gains.
He's absolutely legit for sure.
Yeah,
no, I've just been low on him for no reason, to be honest. Like he just burned me over and over again because I'm like.
You know what it is? It's that one game. I think it was Week 1 NFL where Tyrell and Josh Jacobs were chalk. And what did we have? We had like some other side of it.
Yeah.
And it was that one game, and we were just saying to ourselves, like, "Oh man, Josh Jacobs sucks." Like I can't believe
showdown too. I think that I didn't play him on.
Was there?
Yeah, but no. Week 1 is the worst one.
Yeah, it's the Week 1 thing. That's what. Like I thought Josh Jacobs was bad too because I was like, "Oh, why did people play him?" And that, but
they were on a showdown. But anyway, they were.
Whatever,
I didn't play him on that either. So I didn't think that's it. I thought that Week 1 was weird because I knew about him. I just didn't think he was gonna be chalk. And then it's like afternoon games and he's just hella chalk.
Right.
But okay, yeah. So my favorite captain off top is Keenan. I'm buying it. Like I think that he should get the volume here. And I love that the total where it's at. 25-24 game that sounds like it's gonna play more towards the pass. If you're thinking about that score, but if you're looking to save, and Adi already mentioned kind of Oakland being a little bit of a pass funnel, but how do you feel about either of these running backs getting the discount in the captain spot? They're the 10K compared to 3K, 14K. I mean, those guys make some sense too. But let's just talk about the plays themselves. We talked about Jacobs, Allen. In terms of quarterback, if you could only play one of these guys, where kind of do you think you'll be going with that?
It'd be Rivers for me. I like this Oakland offense, but Rivers just looked really good last week. I mean, he didn't have a great game, but he was 21-28. He was just, anything he wanted to get complete versus Packers secondary, which isn't a horrible secondary. We talked a bit how they're a little bit overrated, but they're not a horrible secondary, and he just picked them apart. I like the play calling from I'm forgetting his name, Shane Steichen, I believe.
Yeah.
I liked his play calling. He got Austin Ekeler more involved while still just having better run plays for Melvin Gordon as well. So Melvin Gordon's touches weren't abysmal under him. Austin Ekeler got more carries. He got more receiving work as well. So I just think I think pretty much every single one of the Chargers pass game weapons have a good have a good matchup. I mean, like from Ekeler through Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen, all of them have good pass game upside, good matchups. And I think Rivers is kind of just going to have a good game. Like if he gets more of that touchdown regression I guess it wasn't really touchdown regression because they just kicked field goals with Badgley last game. But if they do get in the end zone, you would anticipate him getting, 2-3 touchdowns and 300 yards seems fairly easy in this spot. So I like Rivers here.
What's interesting about his pass catchers is we've seen Henry, since he's been back, I believe lead the team in targets.
Yeah.
And then Keenan, and then Mike Williams. However, Mike Williams still getting a decent amount of red zone targets, obviously getting very valuable deep targets as well. Hasn't got a touchdown pass this year, caught like 10 or 11 last year, something like that, something ridiculous last year. Obviously was due to regress to some extent, but to have 0 touchdowns is pretty astounding. Hunter Henry, after his 2 touchdown week in week 1, in his first, not week 1, but his first week back, his second week back because he played week 1 a little bit. He scored 2 touchdowns, hasn't scored since then, so he seems due a little bit for some touchdown regression as well. We talked about Keenan Allen, his matchup a little bit, we can talk about him a little bit more, but I mean, if you're trying to pair him with more than just Keenan Allen, Rivers, and you're trying to get 2 of these LA pass catchers, who do you have a preference there in terms of like, I think it's kind of, Henry has a much better volume. Williams has much higher upside. I mean, I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. I mean, Williams this is such a good matchup for him.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, he leads the Chargers in receptions over 20-plus yards. Oakland's given up 42 completions over 20 yards, which leads the entire NFL.
Yeah, big chunks.
Yeah, and like I think Mike Williams makes a ton of sense here. I love builds that have, Keenan, Mike, and Rivers. I think Hunter Henry's in play. He might end up coming in as like the lowest owned of these guys because I think a lot of people are going to save that 1,000 with Mike Williams. But yeah, Hunter Henry's he's been getting targets, valuable targets, and he's got one of the better matchups versus tight ends. I mean, the Raiders have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends. So it's as good of it's why I like Phillip Rivers over Derek Carr. Each of these guys has a awesome matchup.
Darren Waller comes in as the most expensive of the Oakland pass catchers. And he, I think that having Tyrell back is actually going to probably benefit him because we've seen over the last few weeks teams really crack down on him. Having Tyrell healthy, stretching the field, stretching the defense horizontally as well should help him open up the field a little bit, especially taking some safety off. Zay Jones has looked a little bit better. And then they've also got, Hunter Renfro. People thought that he'd be a pretty solid slot receiver in the NFL. And he's found a spot here. He's also, he's got 2 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks, 1 in each of the last 2 weeks. So all these weapons emerging is probably going to end up helping Waller. But this is still a pretty expensive price to pay, especially when you're comparing him to Hunter Henry, who has a much stronger target volume so far this year. For the most part, but that doesn't mean Waller hasn't had volume as well himself. I mean, 8 targets, 5 targets, 8, and then the drop off 2 last week against the Detroit team that really did everything they could to shut him down. Who's your preference here if you're looking for an Oakland pass catcher? I think what a lot of people might do is just take Josh Jacobs as their main Oakland piece, or just take Derek Carr as their main Oakland piece. I think these receivers might end up being potentially a little bit underowned because Tyrell also has a pretty tough matchup on the outside with Casey Hayward.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I was going to talk about as well. I think when you look at it from an ownership standpoint, I do see Josh Jacobs coming in as the highest owned Raider, and I don't anticipate it being that close. I mean, Derek Carr is obviously going to keep it close, but I think Josh Jacobs might out-own Derek Carr as well.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like the Chargers, even if as long as this game stays relatively close, and Jacobs can have a little bit of pass catching role as well. But if this game stays even relatively close, you see a guy under 10K on a showdown who's getting this kind of volume, like it's pretty smash. Just price wise, like if he gets 20 carries and 9.4K, I know on this slate he's the 3rd highest priced player, but on most other slates, most other teams, you see a guy getting that many carries, 18 to 22 touches a game, it's usually going to be the most expensive player on the slate. But anyway, yeah, sorry, we interrupted the wide receiver discussion.
Yeah, no, that was essentially, I was just saying that a good contrarian build, just based on how we anticipate ownership going, would be Derek Carr and his pass catches like Waller and Tyrell, because those guys are probably going to come in lower owned than they should be. But, I mean, especially if you trust how Vegas is like leaning with this game and the Chargers sort of opening it up and taking the lead and maybe the Raiders having to throw. If it ends up going like that, which it certainly could, then I think that makes for a good sort of contrarian way to attack this slate.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know, even if you did something like this, how much you have left, what can you even build something where you have double pass catchers with Rivers running it back?
I'd probably go with Zay Jones as one of those pass catchers.
Yeah, that saves you a lot of money. So drop down from Tyrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about Zay Jones, who we skipped over some plays in the middle here. We'll get back up to them in a second. Zay Jones, who ran a team high in pass routes last week, who has 2 targets, 4 targets over the last 2 weeks. I would like to see him just a tad cheaper. That said, he definitely is in play. Like we've said over and over again, like literally every single podcast, if there is someone with a legit role on their offense under the kickers, like a week to week, playing over 60% of the snaps on the offense, they're going to be in play on these showdowns.
Yeah.
On DraftKings, and Zay Jones definitely fits that role. Do you want to talk any more about Zay Jones?
Yeah, I mean, he's got more than a legit role in this offense. His first week back where he played, he got 39% of the snaps, 22 overall snaps. And last week, he was all the way up to 92%. That's 66 total snaps. That's, Hunter Renfro ran 54% of the snaps. So he was out there for majority of the game running, a bunch of routes. And he's 1,000 cheaper than the kickers. I think we're going to see him be pretty popular. I can see people going with just Jacobs, Zay Jones, and calling that good for their Oakland exposure. I like that a lot. But yeah, 2,600, 92% of the snaps. You're probably just going to play that. And I would say as of now, I probably like him. Honestly, there's not enough. There's like
no, I know. Yeah.
But I mean, for anyone who wasn't looking at the screen, he was playing with Zay Jones in the captain spot. So that's what we're laughing about. But I mean, it's like you could do it and fit the next 5 highest priced guys pretty much.
There you go.
But no, what I was saying is just 92% of the snaps for Zay Jones, 2,600 as of now. I think I do like him more than the kickers, just because I do think the Chargers take a lead in this game. I do think he'll be playing quite a few of the snaps. I just think he just makes sense. I mean, you project him for 5 targets, he's a better player than the kicker, just based on expected fantasy points.
I kind of want to look more into if Hayward in the past shadows and what side he's going to be on and that sort of thing. You would think that he'd be on that number 1 in general, but I would like to look at how much he shadows and stuff like that, and I haven't done that pre this.
No, he shadows. He shadows.
Does, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
that would definitely be an improvement.
Yeah, he'll 100% be shadowing Tyrell Williams here.
Okay, so we've hit on Tyrell. I mean, he'd be a very contrarian play. And still, even though he has a tough matchup, still a good contrarian play. But there has not been very many good receiver games against Hayward so far this year. We've talked about Mike Williams being an upside play. Hunter Henry has a safer volume. So basically, the only guys we need to talk about, we mentioned Hunter Renfro. We can talk about Renfro. We can talk about him more in a second. Are these Chargers running backs? What is your take on the Chargers running backs? Obviously, you think it could tend to be more towards a shootout potentially, which means Ekeler would become more in play. But obviously, we saw last week them really get back to establishing it with Gordon. He got 20, and they got in a perfect game flow to do that. Their defense was shut down. Mm-hmm. Packers couldn't do anything in LA, despite basically playing a home game because that's how every game in LA is. Super weird. It's so weird watching those Chargers games when the other team scores and
you feel bad for them. You feel bad for them.
Yeah,
you feel bad for San Diego.
It's so weird because it's a small. Bad for San Diego for sure.
Yeah, you feel awful for San Diego. They're just a bunch of diehard fans that are like, "What is going on here?" Like no one. The Chargers have like no fans, man. Like
it's only a 20,000 seat stadium.
Yeah, and
this current one is.
And it's like see the overhead of that. Like they showed an overhead, and it was like. It was pretty empty, but what was there was green. It was just there was a go pack.
That they're building a new stadium. Like, what is that? There, it's gonna be empty as hell, right?
Yeah, dude. There was a go pack go chant for majority of that game. Like, majority of that game was a go pack go chant. It's just so awkward.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Chargers running backs though. What's your take on the Chargers running backs in this game? Which one do you want to get? I think we just talked about how good the volume is with Jacobs. If we're getting this volume with Melvin Gordon, who looks like he's starting to emerge a little bit, obviously it's a tough matchup, but. That looks great at 7.2K to me.
Yeah, it's going to be – I mean, if you're deciding between the two, Melvin Gordon, despite being the less talented of the two, is probably the guy in play just because he's getting all the red zone carries. He's getting more of the in-between the tackle work. Like Austin Ekeler did get 12 carries last week, which I love. But, Melvin Gordon got 20, and he looked, decent. He also got, Austin Ekeler got 4 targets. Melvin Gordon matched that with 4 of his own. They even drew up a little I don't think he scored a receiving touchdown. I think they were both on the ground. Yeah, because Phillip Rivers didn't pass for a touchdown, but
Yeah.
they did draw up a pass for him in the red zone as well, which is pretty cool to see because that's a spot that you would anticipate Austin Ekeler being used more. So, I think if you're deciding between the two, for only a 200 difference, it's probably going to be Melvin Gordon here. But I think for that reason, most people will go Melvin Gordon. That leaves Austin Ekeler, who it's always nice to get the more talented guy at lower ownership. And I think that's the situation that you'll get here. If for whatever reason, he's able to, or not for whatever reason, but if based on his talent, he's able to rip off, some big chunk gains and maybe get into the end zone from a distance, certainly in play, certainly.
I was going to say some potential that they don't have a ton of success with Gordon between the tackles, and if they do fall behind, then obviously it's going to favor towards Ekeler a little bit more. Yeah, I mean they're both good. They're both good plays. They both make some sense depending on the game flow, like you just said. I mean, if you feel better about Oakland being able to push Chargers to throw the ball, then which it's just kind of how you feel about the game, then you're going to want Ekeler because that means Chargers are going to have to throw. If Oakland's going to be pushing with their offense, you're going to probably want a little bit more Ekeler. But
I should mention
Gordon snaps last week definitely plays in his favor a little bit. I mean,
right. I should mention too though. I actually wasn't aware of Austin Ekeler getting 3 red zone looks. He got 3 looks in the red zone. Looks are just categorized as rushes or passes in the red zone. So, that's pretty good. Melvin Gordon did get 6, so he doubled them.
He had 9 red zone chances combined last week.
Yeah, yep.
Absurd.
And I mean, dude, they lived in the red zone and just settled for field goals. Like it was gross as a guy who rostered Phillip Rivers and double stacked him with his wide receivers. It was just disgusting.
Yeah.
But
no,
but
the afternoon slate was miserable, and watching Russell Wilson go off, not having him, it was you're just watching like, oh yeah, obviously Russell Wilson.
I had Tyler Lockett in my lineup for 6.5 days, and then I took him out.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about it last week. We don't need to tell these new folks.
No, for sure. But it's encouraging that Austin Ekeler did get 3 red zone looks, despite Melvin Gordon getting 6. So, for that reason, he's in play. If he converts one of those and Melvin Gordon doesn't convert his, then he makes for a great play.
Cool. We talked a little bit about Renfro established in the slot, but not getting a ton of snaps. He would be another little bit more of a contrarian play for me. But the Chargers haven't been very good at covering the slot either. So that's definitely a plus for him. But I actually didn't look at his snaps recently. So let's see where we're at. Yeah, 54. So, yeah, he's not a bad play at all. If he fits, then he fits. But I'd probably rather, this 1,200 right here that you're going to go down to the kicker for, it's going to be very valuable. But obviously Renfro is going to probably bring you more upside than a kicker because he can catch the ball and he can score touchdown and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's got probably the best matchup of the Chargers of the Oakland receivers. He's got Desmond King in the slot. Desmond King's given up 24 catches on 27 targets. So it's not a bad spot for Hunter Renfro. It's just the price is a little bit restrictive over a guy like Zay Jones, who also is going to see quite a few snaps in the slot, and just sort of he plays almost double the snaps, so, or at least last week, so it makes sense to just save with Zay Jones there.
All right, last take of the slate because as far as I know, there's not anyone else besides Zay Jones down here.
Mm-hmm.
Kicker, which one are you taking?
I would probably give the edge to Badgley here.
Same.
Just because I anticipate the Chargers scoring more points. At least I would think they do.
Look at that hair.
Yeah, man, he's got great hair too. But if you think, I think a team that's more likely to stall in the red zone, and I may be wrong in saying this, is probably the Raiders. And so for that reason, if you think that you get sort of like what was this last showdown slate? Who was the kicker that did well? I forgot. He was like 32.
Brett Maher.
And who was on the other side of that though?
The Giants kicker.
That guy, yeah, Rojas.
Rojas, there you go.
Yeah. If you see a situation like that where he put up like 10 fantasy points because they stalled in the red zone, Carlson could easily do that.
Yeah, but Maher put up like 16. Just saying.
Say it again.
Hey, Maher put up like 16.
Yo, yeah. I think I had both, but.
Gotta love those double kicker slates.
Yeah, this could be one of them. I don't think it will be. I think
because it's Zay.
Yeah, because it's Zay Jones. But if you think the kickers put up 10 apiece or something like that, then Zay Jones is gonna have probably a tough time matching that. But you never know.
All right, there are definitely a lot of interesting builds on this slate. I hope you guys have the best of luck. Our lock sheet will be up tomorrow evening, probably about an hour or two before the slate. Check us out at locksdfs.com. You guys know where to find us, locksdfs.com, at locksdfs on Twitter. I am at ByHardy on Twitter. Adi is at ReallyAdi on Twitter. And that is going to wrap it up for the Thursday Night Showdown video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Adi, what do you got to say to the people? Anything?
I hope Montrezl Harrell puts up like 15 fantasy points in the fourth quarter.
All right. We'll find out here shortly. See you guys all next time. Peace.
Peace.